The day Iris decided to get married, she gave me a check for $20,000. Go wherever you want, just don't ever let me see you again. It's better for both of us this way. I took the check, walked away, and never appeared before her again. But a year later, she showed up at my door, clinging to me like I was some long-lost treasure. Iris had been standing outside my door for a full day and night. I scooped out a chunk of watermelon with my fingers and thought, the summer sun isn't hot enough. Why hasn't it cooked her yet? Knock, knock. She rapped on the door, relentless. I closed my eyes and pretended I couldn't hear. Richard, we need to talk. My upstairs neighbor frowned, opened his window, and asked, Andy, who's Richard? I scratched my head. No idea. She must have the wrong place. Who the hell was Richard? Probably some guy who died a year ago. But disturbing the peace is a bad look, so I went outside and stood in front of her. Ms. Vance, I believe I've kept my end of the bargain. I haven't shown my face to you. In fact, as far as she was concerned, I should have dropped dead a year ago. Iris's eyes were red, like she'd been crying for hours, and she looked exhausted. Richard, she said, her voice breaking, come back with me. I'll be good to you. I realized time is a wonderful thing. I could finally see the crap she spouted for what it was. Ms. Vance, Richard is dead. He died on your wedding night. Don't you remember? She seemed to snap, grabbing my shoulders tightly. No, you're right here in front of me. You're right here. Don't say things like that, please, Richard, please. I felt a little dazed, trying to remember the last time I'd seen Iris cry. It was years ago. Back then, we had nothing but blind courage and each other. No, that's not right. More accurately, I had a blind determination to be with her, no matter how many walls I ran into. I was absolutely crazy about Iris. A tall, lanky girl leaning against a wall with a cigarette dangling from her lips. One look was all it took to crack open my teenage heart. Iris is bad news. I heard it so many times, from friends, teachers, and eventually my parents. Year after year, over and over, I never listened once. So I borrowed money from every friend I had, took a debit card with a few $1,000s on it, left a note, and ran away from school, following Iris onto a bus heading south. The bus swayed back and forth, our bodies pressed close. I pulled out the debit card and whispered the PIN to her. For the first time, Iris's eyes welled up looking at me. She said, Richard, I promise I'll be good to you. I was so moved I thought I would burst. I believed a woman like Iris was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle, and I was going to spend the rest of my life with her. Looking back now, it was just one of the countless lies she told. I was getting impatient. Now that I was outside, the sun was starting to feel a little too hot, like it was scorching my scalp. Iris, I should have made a copy of that contract we signed. It said all conditions were equal, and that both parties would never see each other again. Her face went even paler. I squinted, pretending not to notice. Back then, Iris's business had just taken off. We were no longer squeezed into a cold, cheap apartment, no longer worrying where our next meal would come from, no longer having to walk on eggshells around people. Except I was still forced to live in her shadow. Even at her company, my lack of a degree meant I could only be an assistant. Personal assistant, which was basically a cheap house sitter she also slept with. Then Iris decided to get married. Her fiancé was the only son of a CEO, and marrying him would secure her career indefinitely. She didn't hesitate for long. She gave me a contract which was really just an NDA. Every moment we had known each other, every experience we had shared, was reduced to a piece of paper meant to shut me up. She demanded I never appear in her life again and take everything we had between us to the grave. The payment was $20,000, 5 times what I had given her all those years ago. Inflation had skyrocketed. The cost of living had gone through the roof, and Ms. Vance thought she could just get rid of her broke, live-in boyfriend with a $20,000 check. So classy. When Iris threw that check at me, her eyes were filled with disgust. She hated anything that reminded her of her past struggles. Ms. Vance always had to look polished and perfect. She was a completely different person from the one standing in front of me now. I have to admit I was enjoying the show. I should call a lawyer tomorrow. See what the penalty is for a unilateral breach of contract, huh? I was starting to miss my air-conditioned apartment and wanted to get away from this lunatic. Bang! Just before I could shut the door, Iris slammed her hand against it. Richard, I thought you were dead. I didn't get married. I watched her cry, and all I felt was annoyance. I just want you to come back with me. We'll have a huge wedding. Isn't that what you always wanted? We'll invite everyone and show them you made the right choice, that we were always together, and we'll stay together. I stared at her coldly. The things she was saying sounded like wishes from a past life. Back then, all I dreamed of was marrying Iris. We'd live together, maybe have a kid or two, just like any other happy family. I squeezed my eyes shut. If I ever live long enough to see time machines become a thing, the first thing I'll do is go back 10 years and punch my love-struck, foolish self in the face. Marriage? Forget a wedding. Iris had never once admitted I was her boyfriend. My title in Iris's life changed constantly. At first, I was the good friend who came south with her from our hometown to make it big. Then I became the assistant who ran her errands. Later, I was the personal assistant who managed her private life. The only thing that never changed was that I was never her partner. Never. 2. Iris had been here for 2 days, and she'd ruined my plans for 2 days. I swung my feet, deciding to head to the beach. Of course, she had to tag along like an annoying shadow. I found that pretending not to see things is a useful skill. So is lying with a straight face. The owner of the corner store handed me a soda and asked, "Who's the beautiful woman following you?" Well, damn. Ms. Vance still had the looks. I twisted the cap off the bottle. The scent of orange fizz shot up my nose and made my eyes water. Probably some rich lady visiting her folks, I said, my voice thick. The island was beautiful. It wasn't unheard of for wealthy people to buy their parents a retirement home here. Giving Ms. Vance a set of parents to make up for the ones she didn't have in real life, I couldn't help but think I was a truly kind person. Where else could you find a guy like me? Lily pulled out a couple of napkins to wipe my eyes. She patted my back and said, "No one's gonna steal it from you. Slow down. Don't touch him." Iris lunged forward, viciously slapping Lily's hand away. She stood in front of me, glaring at Lily like a feral animal protecting its food. I thought for a moment. The scene felt familiar. Took me a second to place it. I clicked my tongue. You haven't changed a bit in a year, Iris. Even the angle she knocked someone's hand away was the same. When I first got the NDA from Iris, I didn't want to sign it. I practically begged her on my knees. I won't go to the office anymore. I'll just stay home. Can we just go back to how things were? Iris's face was a cold mask as she directed her lawyer to deal with me. She didn't want to say another word to me herself. "Mr. Davis, you should just sign it. Take the money and go. It's better for you and for Ms. Vance." I shook my head, ignoring him. My eyes locked on Iris. "Iris, I've been with you for so long. Have you forgotten what you told me on that bus?" Crash. Iris smashed the ashtray on the table next to her. "Richard, how many times have I told you not to bring up the past? There was never anything between us. Weren't you the one who was always clinging to me?" Her words were brutal. My hands trembled, unable to hold the thin piece of paper. "I won't talk about marriage anymore. Okay?" Pleaded. "Don't make me leave, Iris. You're all I have." After years away from home, I had no family, no friends. Only Iris. A handsome male assistant hurried into the office and whispered to her, "Mr. Ito is here." Mr. Ito was the man Iris was marrying. Like a drowning man grasping at straws, I childishly thought I could break them up, and then Iris and I could go back to the way we were. I shot up from my seat and rushed toward the door. Before I could even touch the sleeve of his coat, Iris ran over and slapped me away. Who was that? I looked up to see Iris tenderly draping her shawl over his shoulders. Just an assistant. His performance was terrible, so I had to let him go. He's making a scene about it. I hope he didn't scare you. The floor was cold that day. Iris had her arm around her future husband, and she never once looked back at me as they left. I don't remember how I got up off the floor or in what pathetic state I stumbled back into that office. "I'll sign," I said. "I'll take the money and leave and never show my face to Iris again." So I racked my brain, but I couldn't understand why Iris was here now. Why she was always looking so pale, like she was about to burst into tears, as if she was the one who had been wronged. Lily was startled by the whole scene. She shuffled closer to me and whispered, "Andy, do you know this psycho?" I tilted my head back, took a long gulp of soda, and shook my head. Nope. The person who knew Iris was Richard, the guy who was hopelessly in love with her. "My name is Andy. Of course I don't know a big shot like Ms. Vance." "Richard, don't say that, please," she begged. I was so sick of her. I pushed her aside and started walking toward the beach. "Andy, come over for dinner tonight. My mom's making ribs," Lily shouted from behind me. I waved my hand without looking back. "Got it." "Richard, what's your relationship with her?" Iris chattered endlessly as she followed me. "Richard, does she have a crush on you?" "Richard, girls like her, all innocent looking, are liars. Don't fall for it." I sighed deeply. "So who should I trust?" "You?" I couldn't bring myself to say the rest. "Who's been lying to me all this time?" "It was you, Iris." Iris wasn't leaving, but I wasn't worried. Ms. Vance was a lot busier than I was. I was just a bum killing time. I had all the time in the world. I had a plan. The second Iris left, I'd pack up and move somewhere else. I was all alone. There was nothing I couldn't leave behind. But Iris turned out to be more shameless than I could have imagined. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in our old bed in our apartment in the city. Iris was nowhere to be seen. After leaving Lily's house, Iris had handed me a yogurt, saying it would help with digestion. I walked for a bit before trying to leave, but as expected, I was stopped by the bodyguards waiting outside the door. "Sir, Ms. Vance said she'll be back soon. She hopes you won't wander off." I laughed coldly. "Get her back here now." "I'm not waiting for her. We're just following orders, sir. Please don't make this difficult for us." I was shaking with rage. I felt like my heart was going to burst out of my chest. I wanted to tear Iris to shreds to satisfy the hatred I felt. "Get her back here now." I saw Iris half an hour later. She was rushing, as if she had just handled some major crisis. The first thing she did when she came in was try to hug me. "Richard, I'm just so busy. That's why I had to leave you alone. Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" I watched her little performance with cold eyes. "What do you want, Iris?" Her hands froze, and her eyes turned bloodshot. "Richard, I just want you by my side." I stood up and kicked her. Hard. "Did you forget? You told me to get lost, to get as far away as possible, so your new husband would never find out about our past." I didn't want to cry. Tears make you look weak. But I couldn't control my emotions. My voice started to choke. "Iris, why do you always get to do whatever you want? Can't you just let me go?" Iris scrambled over to me on her hands and knees, holding me as if I were a fragile piece of glass about to shatter. "It's all my fault, Richard. It's all my fault. I'll be good to you from now on, I promise I will." "Forget it, Iris," I thought. "I don't believe a word you say. You're a liar." Iris didn't care about my attitude. She basically put me under house arrest. "This is illegal, Iris," I told her calmly. "What are you talking about, Richard?" she said, patting my head affectionately. "Once I get through this busy month, we'll go get our marriage license, and then we'll have a huge wedding, okay?" There was no getting through to her. I turned my back and closed my eyes. She placed a kiss on my forehead and said she was heading to work, reminding me to eat. Iris started calling me all the time. Video calls without exception. I never answered. After I rejected the 8th video call, Mr. Roberts, the housekeeper taking care of me, brought me his phone. "Sir, the miss said she'd like to speak with you." I smiled and rejected the call on his phone, too. Iris didn't call again. I took a nap, but it wasn't a good one. I was crying when I woke up. Iris was lying next to me, reaching out to wipe away my tears. "What did you dream about? You were crying so hard." "I dreamt my whole family died," I said, my face hard, and I was the only one left. She laughed and pinched my cheek like I was a child. "Dreams are the opposite of reality. We'll be starting a new family soon." I looked into her eyes, suddenly curious. "Iris, why did you suddenly come looking for me? A person you despised so much you wished they would disappear from the face of the earth. Why would you suddenly want them back? I couldn't figure it out. When Iris reached for my hand, I pulled it away. She didn't seem to mind, as if just being there was enough. After you left, every day was miserable. Richard, you're a part of my life. I can't live without you. Ha! I scoffed and walked out of the room. Too little, too late, Iris. It's just pathetic. I ignored her and went downstairs to eat. Mr. Roberts was putting a dessert on the table. Ms. Vance brought this back for you, sir. Please have a taste. He had a smile in his eyes as he mentioned that he'd heard this bakery's desserts were second to none. I smiled, then didn't take a single bite. Iris sat across from me, the light in her eyes slowly dimming. Richard, just try a little, she said. It seemed to take a lot of mental preparation for her to cut a piece of cake and place it in my bowl. It's your favorite. I looked at her and smiled. Iris, I never liked this bakery. The only reason I was willing to wait in line for 2 hours every week was because you liked their cheesecake. I frowned. I hate sweets, and I hate the South. That night, Iris slept in the study. I was relieved. Not having to see her face was a blessing. I slept well. For 2 weeks, no matter how much I mocked her, Iris refused to let me go. Until the weather started to warm up. She brought home a suit and said she was taking me to a banquet. I said I wasn't going. She stood outside my door for hours before finally saying, Miles will be there. Don't you want to see him? Miles, my best friend from high school. The one I'd borrowed a huge sum of money from. I still remembered his words. Richard, you better pay me back. I remember, I said, and then I broke my promise. Iris didn't know that I had already seen Miles. But some people, you see them once, and that's one less time you'll see them again. So I put on the suit and went to the party with her. Miles had changed a lot. The skinny bookworm from our school days had turned into a tall, handsome man. The only thing that hadn't changed was his mouth. It was as sharp as ever. Long time no see. I hear all your years of hard work finally paid off. Finally got your place in the mansion? He was mocking me. I got it. Iris's face turned green. I forced a smile. Not at all. I'm just Ms. Vance's date. He sneered and turned away. Everyone there was sharp. They rushed to congratulate Ms. Vance on her upcoming marriage. I was like a piece of furniture, an accessory for Iris to show off. It was late when I finally cornered Miles outside the restroom. What? He looked like he didn't want to waste a single word on me. Miles, I still owe you money, I said, quickly blocking his path. He walked around me without looking back. It's been years. I wrote it off as a bad debt. You don't have to pay me back. I gripped the edge of the sink to steady myself. Miles, I said, my voice faint. Thank you. He finally stopped and looked at me. Thank me for what? For taking care of your parents? For burying them? For helping you create a new identity? Why are you back with Iris? Richard, are you really that pathetic? The world started to spin. I wanted to say, I'm not. I know I was wrong before, but I'm trying to change. Can you forgive me? I don't have anyone else in this world. But I couldn't say a word. My mouth filled with the taste of rust, a taste I knew all too well. It was the same taste that surrounded me after the car crash a year ago. Thud. My strength gave out and I collapsed. Richard. This time I finally had a good sleep. I had a long, long dream. In the dream, my parents were there, smiling as they brought out a birthday cake. Happy birthday, Richard. Miles was there too, solemnly handing me his personal savings. Richard, remember to pay me back. Okay? In the dream, I was only 18, and I believed love could conquer all. I followed my younger self, watching as I scribbled a note for my family. Mom, Dad, I'll call you as soon as I'm settled. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Watching as I promised Miles he was my best friend and I would definitely pay him back. Watching as I flipped my hair and excitedly boarded the bus heading south. A permanent smile on my face, as if a beautiful future truly lay ahead. 10 years flew by. That southbound bus roared forward and, crash, slammed into a car heading home. Everything was desolate, only the blood was real. I ran to the car and tried to pull the door open. But I saw the person inside. Their short hair was matted, their face gaunt. Their lips moved, and I leaned in closer to hear. They said, go home. Stop running. Go home. There's no beautiful future ahead. The people around you are liars. You will lose everything you cherish. If you can, just go home. From a distance, it seemed someone was calling my name. I thought it might be my parents calling me home. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Iris, her eyes red and swollen. I closed them again. What a jinx. Miles was standing not far away, arms crossed. When he saw I was awake, he let out a long breath and turned to leave. I wanted to call out to him, but I didn't know what to say. No words left to say. So that's what it meant. It was nothing serious, or so I thought. But Iris clearly disagreed. She kept me in the hospital for endless tests. Then one night, I found her crying. Not silent tears. She was sobbing her heart out. I tilted my head, wondering what she was so sad about. The far, far away place she wanted me to go. Did that not include heaven? I couldn't figure it out, so I went back to sleep. Iris started sitting by my bedside all day. Most of the time, she was silent, just taking me from one test to another, trying to save my failing body with countless expensive machines. The medical reports piled up like snowflakes, soon forming a thick stack. I peeled an orange and watched her study my charts with the same intensity she would a multi-million-dollar contract. When I started to get up, she looked up and asked softly, "What is it?" She grabbed a wet wipe, cleaned each of my 10 fingers one by one, then dried them with a tissue before meeting my eyes and asking if I wanted anything else to eat. Time suddenly slowed down. The long drone of cicadas, the golden sunset, and the focused gaze of the person in front of me. For some reason, it made me want to cry. If only this had happened 10 years ago, I thought. But time never goes backward. We always meet at the wrong time. The day the final diagnosis came, Iris stood outside and smoked for a long time. I sat on the edge of the bed, swinging my legs to pass the time, and suddenly noticed I'd lost more weight. A little part of me was happy. All that stubborn fat I could never get rid of was finally gone. The little chubby kid had become a skinny stick. Iris walked in silently, put my shoes on for me, draped a jacket over my shoulders, then stood back. "Richard, why didn't you say anything?" she asked. "Say what? That my body was failing? That the car crash a year ago had caused irreversible damage, and my organs were shutting down one by one? That I didn't have much time left? That I was about to die? Or that I was already dead? That I had died on a rainy night a year ago?" I said, "Iris, you're the last person I'd ever talk to about it." The day Iris told me to take the money and get lost, I went home. I was ready for them to scream at me, to hit me. I would have gotten on my knees and told them I was wrong. I had trusted the wrong person, made the wrong choices, and gone down the wrong path. I wanted to hold my mom and cry, to tell her how much I missed her. But I didn't see them. I only saw 2 dark headstones with the kind faces of my parents etched on them. The rain poured down. I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears streaming down my face. Mom, Dad, it had been so long. Even their names felt strange on my tongue. What have I done? What in God's name have I done? That's when I saw Miles. He was holding an umbrella, his face cold, standing next to me. He mocked me for finally bothering to come back and see my parents. I was shaking too hard to hear what he was saying. He tried to get me to leave, but I wouldn't go. I hadn't seen my parents in so long. I didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to be with them. The rain was heavy. Miles stood there with the umbrella for a long time, not leaving even after it stopped. "Richard," he said coldly, "if I were you, I wouldn't be able to face them." My voice was hoarse when I thanked him. On the way home, a neighbor told me that for years, a young man named Miles had been visiting, and that my parents had been very fond of him. "I can't accept your thanks," he said, standing his ground, but his eyes were red. "Richard, your aunt and uncle, they wanted to come see you." The thunder rumbled again. I wanted to tell him to stop, that I didn't want to hear it. "They missed you so much. They said they didn't know if you were doing okay, if you were eating well, if you had enough money, if you were happy. Your aunt said, 'Why doesn't he come home? Is he afraid we'll scold him?' She said she wouldn't scold you anymore. She just missed you a little." Tears streamed from the corners of my eyes. All those years, why didn't I go home? I was so determined to prove I was right, that I hadn't chosen the wrong person, that I was living a good life. I kept thinking that when we had our wedding, my parents would forgive me for leaving without a word. So they decided to come find you, Miles said calmly. They just wanted to see you, to know that you were okay. I was sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Mom, it felt like if I just called her name, a kind woman would answer with a smile. Richard, they only made it to the edge of the city. They weren't even on the freeway when it happened. Miles continued, do you know what your aunt's last words were? My body was so cold. I don't even know if I was shaking my head. Miles spoke slowly. Don't tell Richard. Miles, don't tell Richard. Don't let him worry. Even as she was dying, my mom was afraid I would worry. Just tell him, as long as he's happy, that's all that matters. Mom, how could you still wish for happiness for such an unfilial son? We just miss him a little. Just a little. In the face of death, to spare her son the guilt, she couldn't even bring herself to say very much. She just said, I miss him a little. I couldn't help but wonder if they blamed me. Because of their son's willfulness, they went years without hearing from him. They just wanted to know if their son was okay, and they lost their lives because of it. As they closed their eyes for the last time, why didn't they blame me? Mom, blame me. Don't miss me. Hate me. Because I hate myself too. Mom, the rain was so heavy that day, I could barely hear the radio announcing the merger of Vance Group and the Ito Corporation. The moment the car skidded, my mind went blank. Looking back on my life, I had gained nothing. Dying like this didn't seem so bad. So I closed my eyes and waited for my parents. Richard, snap out of it. The fluorescent lights flashed overhead. Rainwater dripped from Miles's coat onto my hand. Richard, your aunt also said, she wants you to live a good life, and if you can, try not to be too sad. I closed my eyes. Did she really? Richard, it might have been a hallucination, but I heard her calling my name in my dream. Richard, my darling boy, you have to keep living. Her hand brushed across my forehead, leaving a warm touch. And so Richard died that night. Only Andy, who hoped for a little more peace, woke up and moved to an island, seeking a quiet life. But Iris wouldn't allow it. A match made in hell. Iris took charge, dragging me from one hospital to another, trying to get a doctor to tell her I could live longer. But I knew it wasn't happening, because she never stopped frowning. Mr. Roberts kept bringing me different kinds of soup. It felt like every expensive animal in the world had condensed its life essence into those bowls, and I was sick of drinking them. Every time, Iris would sit beside me and list the soup's benefits, as if making me drink it was her life's mission. I put up with it, again and again, until a bowl of some fancy health broth finally broke me. I'm not drinking it. I swatted the bowl away, not wanting it to take up space in my stomach. A vein pulsed on Iris's forehead. She was clearly struggling to control her temper. I could hear her teeth grinding, a sure sign she was genuinely angry. I watched her calmly, waiting. I watched her deflate like a defeated rooster, bow her head, compose herself, and then somehow manage a smile. Richard, this is good for you. Don't be difficult. Let's just drink a little, okay? I sneered. No, I figured it had been a while since anyone had so bluntly refused Ms. Vance. Her hands were shaking. She was furious. I mentally counted down the seconds until she would explode, kick over the furniture, and storm out. That was her usual move. But I waited for a long time, and all that came was a deep sigh. Then she knelt and started cleaning up the mess. You're in a bad mood today. We'll try again tomorrow. I blinked. Iris, I really don't get it. Why are you lying to yourself? There was never anything between us. I was the one clinging to you. Has Ms. Vance forgotten? I threw her own words back at her and, sure enough, saw her eyes turn red again. The ability to hurt people is innate. I was a late bloomer and couldn't master the art. I sighed. I'm not drinking it tomorrow either. You might as well save your energy and go to work. Maybe my words worked. The next morning when I woke up, Iris was gone. The meal Mr. Roberts made had no soup. I ate peacefully and went back to bed for a nap. It was a rare moment of calm. Where is he? Find him. A familiar voice woke me up. I struggled to sit up and saw the young Mr. Ito downstairs, in a standoff with Mr. Roberts. Mr. Ito, you can't go up there. Get out of my way. I slowly poked my head out to watch the drama unfold. The moment Ken Ito looked up, our eyes met. The kid was still young, he couldn't hide the shock on his face. I cracked a smile. Looking for me? Ken stared at me for a long time before speaking. You're Richard? I nodded. He deflated, the words he'd been preparing dying on his lips. Before he could recover, Iris opened the front door and walked in. Ken, what are you doing here? The kid's eyes immediately reddened. You won't answer my calls. What did I do wrong that you would just call off the engagement without a word? It's not fair. I took a piece of fruit from Mr. Roberts and ate it slowly, nodding along during the pauses in his tirade. I can move out any time, I offered. He looked so miserable I even handed him a couple of tissues. The sole heir to the Ito family, he probably hadn't been wronged much in his life. He took the tissues, his lips moved, and he finally managed a thank you. I grinned. You're not going anywhere, Iris said, coming over and taking the bowl from my hands. Don't eat too much of this, it's cold. I rolled my eyes and gestured for her to comfort Ken. She pretended not to see. Typical. Him. I remember him. He's that assistant you said you were firing. It was never that simple between you two, was it? Ken sobbed, pointing at me as Iris escorted him out the door. Iris paused. Yes, I lied to you. I'm sorry. We'll offer you a better deal on all future partnerships with your company. She added, and please don't point at my husband. It makes him uncomfortable. Ken was shaking with rage, his face turning an ugly shade of red. Iris placed a bag of pastries next to me. Warm these up before you eat. I suddenly got curious. Don't you have to work? Iris? I can handle work online, she answered nervously. I want to be with you. I waved my hand. I was just going to say, if you have time, I'd like to go home. I told you I hate it here. I want to go home. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I have to go home. Iris started packing. I sat on the edge of the bed, calling Miles over and over. He didn't answer. I'm going home. Let's meet up. Miles, I want to see you. Even if you haven't forgiven me, just see me one last time. My messages went into a void. Miles was ignoring me. Finally, I had no choice but to text him my flight number. Miles, I really miss you. Before we left, I saw him at the airport. He was standing far away, wearing a trench coat and sunglasses. I couldn't see his expression, but my gut told me he was crying. I waved frantically, trying to tell him how grateful I was. Then and now, he was my best friend, the very best friend in the world. I had transferred the money he lent me back to his account, tenfold. But money is just a number. Couldn't make up for the years I'd lost, or the apologies I owed. It was just a meager attempt at amends. Before the plane took off, I got a photo from Miles. It was from an afternoon in high school. I was frowning, working on a problem, with sunlight pouring over me. It was a version of me I'd never even seen. The text read, Richard, you only let yourself down. Memories from a distant past flooded my mind. My original dream was to be a doctor. Not someone's husband, just a doctor who saved lives. I remember joking back then that I would never forget my dream. Or else what was it? Or I'll die a horrible death. It was a prophecy. Landing back in my hometown felt unreal. I said I wanted to visit my parents' graves. Iris followed me to the cemetery gate. I turned to look at her. You should probably wait outside. Do you think my parents want to see you? Iris took a step back and said she'd wait. She told me to come out soon. I wasn't going to listen to her. There was a small gate in the cemetery. I slipped out through it and bought a ticket to the island that night. Iris was always following me. I was sick of it. The waves crashed on the shore. This was a place of comfort and freedom. Iris would find me soon enough. My time was limited. I went to have a meal with Lily. She looked a little sad. You disappeared without a word for so long. And now you're leaving again? I lied without batting an eye. I'll come back and visit when I have time. She was a few years younger than me, full of youthful energy. After a moment of silence, she said, Andy, I like you. I smiled. I know. That clear, pure look in her eyes, I had seen it in my own years ago. That's why I had to come back one last time. I couldn't string a good girl along. I patted her shoulder and tucked a wad of cash under a napkin holder on the counter. Payment for all the sodas I'd drunk. Kiddo, when you meet a good person, you'll know. She laughed and playfully punched my arm. How would you know? You're so far away from here. I didn't argue, but I just would. I'm going to become an angel, I said. I'll fly around in the sky and protect all of you. Except for Iris. Speak of the devil. Iris showed up before I could even finish my last bite of food. I went with her obediently, not forgetting to turn and wave goodbye to Lily. Iris's grip on my hand tightened. That night, we slept in the same bed again. Iris held me so tightly that I couldn't move without waking her. The next day, Iris suggested we go get our marriage license. Let's get married. She even got down on one knee. Afraid she might jinx what little life I had left, I scrambled away. She stayed there, kneeling, her face frozen, like an abandoned statue. I don't want to, I said. Your name is not going on my tombstone. I want to leave this world clean. I want to leave without ever being tied to you again. I can't keep making the same mistake. Iris still dragged me to treatments, but no one could figure out why I was wasting away. So she started praying to Buddhas. In temples filled with incense, she knelt, palms together, praying for me to live a long life. I looked up at the Buddha. It had a benevolent face, as if it could tolerate all suffering. I thought to myself, if the gods can hear me, I want to leave this place. Leave the beginning of all my suffering. Iris hung one good luck charm after another on me, but they couldn't stop my life from fading away. One night, Iris finally broke down, kneeling and crying, begging me to stay. Why do you have to leave me? So she knew, I thought. She knew I didn't want to spend another day with her, because I was sick of her. I asked her, do you love me now? Iris nodded through her tears. Why? I tried to find an excuse for her. Am I more handsome than I used to be? Her voice was hoarse. You've always been handsome. Then why do you only love me now? Iris's love had no reason, but my hate did. I've always loved you, was her answer. I shook my head. She was a pathological liar. Iris, when I gave up everything to be with you, when I loved you with all my heart, when I knelt and begged you to love me, you didn't. Now you say you love me. How am I supposed to believe that? Your love is as fake as you are. I don't want to believe it, and I don't dare to. She took a step forward. Then torture me, but stop torturing yourself. Okay? I stared at her. There were so many times I thought about just grabbing that kitchen knife and stabbing you. Iris froze, then turned as if to go get the knife. But what does any of this have to do with you? I said calmly, I was the one who liked you. I was the one who clung to you. I was the one who insisted on following you, who got on that bus. You're just a terrible person, I said. I was the one who was hopelessly lost. If you're willing to let me live on my own now, we can still part on good terms. I added with a smile, I'll even give you $20,000. For your silence. Iris bit her lip so hard she didn't cry. She turned off the light, got into bed, and held me, whispering good night. The tear she'd held back in front of me trickled down my neck. Iris was crying again. Serves her right. We rented a place in our hometown. It was as if Iris had finally given up. She just stayed by my side every day. We went to see our old school. It had been renovated several times and looked completely different. Iris gently took my hand. I didn't pull away, so she took it as an invitation and swung our hands back and forth like a happy child. A small smile playing on her lips. Standing in front of the school gate, a gentle breeze on my face. I could almost see the 18-year-old boy standing here, carefully standing on his toes to kiss the person beside him. Life was good then. Love was all you needed. I was young then. I fell for everything. We walked a long way, but I couldn't help but look back. The old locust tree was as lush as ever, and the people standing beneath it were forever young. I really miss myself. Iris looked at me, confused. I smiled, and as I smiled, tears started to fall. The school bell rang, and young students in uniforms came out in twos and threes. I held Iris's hand, feeling completely out of place among them. Richard? Someone called my name hesitantly. I turned and saw my old homeroom teacher, his hair already gray. He didn't teach at the school anymore, he was there to pick up his grandson. He patted my hand kindly. "You're back." I choked out, "I'm back. Which college did you end up going to?" I paused, unable to answer. He said, "I'm getting old. I can't remember things clearly. You were a good student. You would have done well anywhere. You made something of yourself." I helped him home, listening to him talk the whole way. He complained that the students these days weren't as good as they used to be, mentioned names I didn't recognize as my classmates, and bragged about who had a great job now and had made it big. His little grandson kicked a pebble along the sidewalk, full of energy. When we got to his house, I didn't go in. He patted my hand and said, "Richard, study hard. Don't be nervous. You'll definitely get into a good college." I stood there, speechless, just nodding and saying I knew that I would study hard. "Don't worry, sir." Not long after I left, his grandson ran after me. He looked at me for a moment before saying, "Grandpa's memory isn't so good, but he always said that if he ever saw you, he should give you this." I held out my hand and took the medal. It was so heavy I could barely lift my arm. "Grandpa said if he saw you, he should convince you to go to college." My tears fell, splashing onto the medal. "Kid, Iris is bad news. Young man, love feels like everything right now, but you have a long life ahead of you. Richard, you can get into a great school. Don't throw your future away." All those years ago, my teachers had pleaded with me, but I hadn't listened to a single word. And so he remembered. Even when he couldn't remember people clearly, he remembered that he had a student he was very proud of who had stopped going to school, and what a shame it was. A real shame. I knelt to the little boy's level. "If your grandpa gets better, remember to tell him that Richard is doing great." The little boy smiled and ran back, chanting, "Richard is doing great. Grandpa, Richard is doing great." Winter arrived with the first snow. Once the flakes started to fall, Iris didn't let me go out much. I had gotten so thin, it looked like the north wind could blow me away. I directed her to build me a snowman. She was clumsy and couldn't get it right. The final product was an ugly, lopsided thing. I was so annoyed I felt dizzy. I turned around, went back to my room, and skipped breakfast. Iris was practically radiating cold from being outside, but she didn't dare come near me. She just paced anxiously in the living room. I flipped through old photo albums, sending the interesting ones to Miles. He still didn't reply much, but he would answer 1 out of every 10 messages, which was enough for me. "This barbecue place is still open. Are you coming back for the holidays? We should go." 10 minutes later, Miles replied, "Yes, but not there. It's not clean." I was thrilled. Anything is fine. Just seeing him would be enough. Knock, knock, knock. Iris had a real talent for ruining a good mood. I opened the door impatiently, but she wasn't there. Instead, a little snow duck sat on the doorstep, its head tilted up. There was a note beside it. "Don't touch with your hands. It's cold." So I crouched down to look at the little duck eye to eye and thought it was the cutest thing I'd ever seen. Iris was in the kitchen, wearing an apron, glancing over at my hands every few seconds. 5 minutes later, she put down her spatula and pulled me up from the floor. "Don't squat for too long." I looked at the snow outside. "Iris, do you remember our first winter in the city? That winter, we scrimped and saved, living in a basement with no heating. The room was freezing. I piled all our warm clothes on the bed, and we'd huddle under the covers, talking. I remember," Iris said, draping a blanket over me. "It was so cold back then. Your hands were all chapped." I lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. There was a big pothole in front of our building back then. I fell and was covered in blood when I got up. I almost lost the use of my leg that day. You said you couldn't come back and told me to go to the hospital by myself." Iris stood there at a loss. After a moment, she came over and stroked my head. "When you get better, we'll have a child." That was a lie. The clinic wasn't reputable. I could never have children of my own. I felt a wave of exhaustion. "Iris, I really hate you." Even now, she couldn't say a single decent thing. Iris shifted, taking my hand in hers and rubbing it.
"Richard, I'm sorry."
"For everything, I'm so sorry. That sounded a little better. More like something a human would say. My head started spinning again. I felt incredibly dizzy. As if sensing it, I sighed. I don't forgive you. I'm leaving now. Don't bother me anymore. Iris's cold tears fell again. No, she said. Don't leave me. I opened my eyes and looked at her. The price for what you did to me, I've already collected it. I didn't ask why they never found the driver in that hit and run. I didn't ask how she managed to find me so quickly. I didn't ask why she was so racked with guilt that she couldn't sleep at night. Iris was not a good person. No one had been wrong about that. It just took me all these years to see it. I wanted to be done with her, but she insisted on keeping me by her side to atone for her sins. She stayed with me day and night while Miles slowly dismantled her company, leaving nothing but an empty shell. She donated so much money to temples in my name, all of it counting as blessings for my next life. That Ken Ito kid wasn't bad at heart. I called him late one night and started with the old refrain, "Kid, Iris is bad news." Luckily, he wasn't the me of the past. He listened seriously and then said, "Richard, take care of yourself." The next day, he was on a plane out of the country. Iris's company couldn't stand up to scrutiny. I secretly contacted Miles and asked if he could get her put away for a few years. Miles laughed. Was that my wish? Yes, I said. Seeing her miserable makes me happy. He said, done. Miles, I said, we're best friends for life. He was silent for a long time before answering, next life too. I thought, let's not meet in the next life. A friend like me is someone you're better off never knowing. The snow outside fell endlessly. My consciousness grew thin. Someone was crying beside me. I knew subconsciously it was Iris, but I didn't want to look back, because in the light ahead, I saw my mom. She was holding my dad's arm, calling my name. Richard, hurry up. I murmured, Mom, wait for me. Wait and we'll go together. The clouds above sigh softly, the child below is going home. Epilogue. I was finally 18 again. I opened the door and fell into my mother's arms. Such a warm embrace, a warmth I had chased for half a lifetime and never found. Mom, I said, I'm home. I'm not going anywhere. She smiled and pinched my cheek. Did you have a nightmare? Go wash your hands. Dinner's almost ready. My dad closed the door, a newspaper in his hand. He pointed at my face and laughed. Look at that, you got sleep lines on your face from a nap. He looks like a little kitten, my mom added. They laughed together and I laughed with them. I told them I really missed them and to just let me stay here. As long as I was here, everything was okay. I finished my cigarette in front of Richard's grave before crushing the butt on the ground and standing up. Iris's company was dirty. She was taken into custody today. All things considered, she's probably looking at 10 years or more. Your debt is paid. We're still best friends. I went to that barbecue place. The taste has changed. It's not very good anymore. Richard, did you see your mom and dad? The setting sun bled across the sky. The boy in the photo on the headstone was smiling brightly. I think he probably did. That's good then. That's good.